A very good morning to you all. Welcome back to virtual class for education. Well, this is in continuation of our previous class on Unit 5, Physical Basis of Mental Health. As we have already discussed in our previous class that the human nervous systems are divided into the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and the autonomous nervous system. I hope now you all are well acquainted with the knowledge of the functions of central nervous system, generally the brain and the spinal cord. How message received through sense organs are gathered in and interpret at the central nervous systems and transmit for required response for reflex actions. Well, today we will discuss the second part of the nervous system, that is the peripheral nervous system. Here we will touch the following points like sensory receptors, the eye, the ear, nose, tongue, and a touchy feel, that is skin. So if you have an education textbook with you can turn to page number 57 onward. Peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is found in the periphery of the human body. The peripheral nervous system is the division of the nervous system containing all nerves that lie outside of the central nervous system. The primary role of peripheral nervous system is to connect the central nervous systems to the organs, limbs, and skin. These nerves extend from the central nervous system to the outermost area of the body. Last, in our previous class, we talked about the central nervous systems. Now, the peripheral nervous system, that means the external nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of all nerves arising from the brain and the spinal cord. It has two kinds of pathways: the afferent, that is receiving sensory pathways, and efferent, or sending or carrying away motor pathway. Afferent, in nervous systems, afferent pathways are made of bundles of afferent neurons, known as sensory or receptors neurons, which carry nerve impulses from receptors or sense organs towards the central nervous systems. This term can also be used to describe relative connections between structures. Afferent pathways includes two kinds of nerves, purely sensory nerves and mixed cranial nerves. Cranial nerves are the nerves that emerge directly from the brain, including the brain stem, of which there are conventionally considered 12 pairs. Cranial nerves relay information between the brain and the parts of the body, primarily to and from regions of the head and neck, including the spatial sense of vision, taste, smell, and hearing. Efferent pathways includes, efferent pathway, the efferent nerves fibers refers to axonal projections that exit a particular region, and it is subdivided into somatic and automatic nervous system. Somatic nervous systems control voluntary movement, transmit and receives message from the sense, and it involves in reflex actions without the involvement of the central nervous system. So in some cases, like the reflex action was taken before it reached to the central nervous system, that is the somatic nervous system. So the reflex can occur very quickly in a somatic nervous system. Second is the autonomic nervous system. It is a control system that acts largely unconsciously and regulates bodily functions such as the heart rate, digestion, respiratory rate, etc. Sometimes like we don't feel about like our stomach is digesting the food that we take, and at the same time like we don't feel about the heartbeat, but they are continuously working. The heartbeat is continuously beating. At the meantime, the digestion was taken place through like taken place continuously. Autonomic nervous systems consist of two parts, and sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for facing emergency situations, whereas the parasympathetic nervous systems re-establishes the normal conditions once the emergency is over. Here is the image of afferent and afferent nerve, which was connecting to the spinal cord. One is the skin and the other is the muscle. Sensory receptors, the sense organs. Okay, what are the sense organs? The body structure specialized in receiving stimuli from the outside world is called sense organs. The stimuli received so by the sense organs are passed to the brain through narrow thread-like fibers called nerves. The nerves which carry the message from the sense organs to the brain is called ingoing nerve. At the same time, the nerves which carry the message from reflex action from central nervous systems to the sense organs are called outgoing nerves. They are all called sensory nerves and receptors because the sense organs receive knowledge of outside situations. The sense organs are the organs through which we sense or detect changes in the external environment. Each sense organs has special sensory cells. For example, eyes has specialized on image of vision, whereas the nose for smell, skin for touch, etc., which receive the stimuli and transmit the impulses produced through the concerned nerve to the brain or the spinal cord. The brain sorts out the impulses, interpret them, and transmit messages for the required responses. Typically, there are 5 sense organs in human, which are eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. Now let us discuss the 5 sense organs a little bit in detail. Eye is the sense of vision. Eye is the receptor of sight. It is nearly spherical in shape, bulging a little in front, and is able to rotate freely in the bony socket. Eye is a hollow ball containing several structures inside. The wall of the eye is made up of 3 layers: sclera, choroid, and retina. Sclera is the outermost tough white layer. In front, it is continued as the transparent cornea. Choroid is the middle layer. It is composed of collective tissue having a dense network of blood vessels. And the retina is the innermost sensitive layer. It contains 2 kinds of sensory cells: the rods, which are sensitive to dim light, and the cones, which are sensitive to bright light and colors. Eyes, the sense of vision. In functioning, it is similar to a camera. Eyes help us to see things around us. The light from various objects falls on eye and stimulate them, which in turn send the sensory message to the brain. Now let us discuss the functions of the eye. First, transmission of light. Reflected light rays from the object enter the eyes through the vitreous humor. Formation of image. The curvature of the cornea bends the rays to some extent and then bends them further to form an image on the retina. Three, nature of image. The image is inverted and drilled. 4, protection of nerve impulse and its transmission. The light energy of the image produces chemical changes in the sensory cells. These changes produce nerve impulses which travel through the optic nerve and reach the brain. Perception. The brain interprets the image in many ways. The object might be seen vertical, although the actual image from is inverted. Accommodations. Focusing the image on retina is called accommodation. Changing the curvature of the elastic lens bring about accommodation. For distant vision, the lens is more flattened or thinner. This is the normal condition of lens, which is kept stretched by the suspensory ligaments. For near vision, the ciliary muscles, which are circular, contract and tend to reduce the circumference of the eyeball there. This releases the tension on the suspensory ligaments and the lens becomes thicker on account of its own elasticity. Next, sense organs, the air. Air is the sense of sound. The air serves two sensory functions, hearing and maintaining balance of the body. It has three main parts: external air, middle air, and the internal air. The outer air collects sounds, vibrations, and passes into the inner air, which is filled with fluid. The vibrations, while reaching the inner ears, causes motion in the fluid over there and in turn stimulate auditory air cells. Vestibule, a part of inner ear, is concerned for keeping balance of the body. Okay, let us now discuss on the mechanism of hearing. First, the sound wave enter the auditory canals and cause the eardrums to vibrate. The second mechanism of hearing is the vibrations of the eardrums are transferred to malleus, to incus, and then to stapes. Third, these vibrations move the fluid in the cochlea. The organs of Corti catches the movement of the fluid and transfer it to the auditory nerve that carries the impulses to breath. In short, the air helps us to accommodate language or words spoken by others, and also it helps us to communicate with others. So for instance, like if eardrums was damaged by incident or by other factors, we will find it difficult to maintain our body equilibrium. Next, sense organs, sense of smell, nose. Nose are used to smell scent. We get sense for what particles are traveling through the air, which can help us to identify if dangerous chemicals are nearby. Smell has the strongest connection to memory. A familiar smell can remind us of things long forgotten. The receptors of smell are olfactory cells found in the mucous membrane. The olfactory nerve carries the odors impulse to the brain, and the sensation of smell takes place. The sensation of smell is deeply connected to that of the taste. For example, if we have a contaminating with the influenza or flu, we lose smell or odor and taste too. Let me cite another example. Like when we smell a delicious food, or our digestive enzymes start to generate, and we feel hungry. So as we inhale anything that in the air through the nasal cavity, we might not feel or smell air or dust or bullet, but we can smell chemicals. It is because the olfactory cells are chemoreceptors, which mean the olfactory cell have protein receptors that can detect slight differences in the chemicals. The chemicals bind to the cilia, generates the nerve impulse that carried through olfactory cell in the olfactory fiber up to the olfactory bulb and to the brain. And then the brain determines what we smelled. Next, tongue, sense of taste. Tongue are used to taste food, allowing us to figure out if something is going to be useful or poisonous to our body, and also allowed us to sense hot, cold in food and liquids. The rough surface on the tongue produces just three sensations of taste. Sweet, sour, bitter, and salt are treated as elementary taste. The taste bud or pulp, located along the tongue, contain a number of taste cells. When the food particles come in contact with these cells, we get the sensation of taste. See, food contains chemicals, and when something is put into our mouth, the taste bud in the tongue can detect what chemicals are ingested. Each taste bud has a bore at one end with a microvilli sticking out of the bore, and sensory nerve fibers attached to the other end. Chemicals from food bind in the microvilli, generating a nerve impulse that is carried through the sensory nerve fibers and eventually to the brain. Besides the taste, the tongue can also help. The tongue can also pick up the ingredients and temperature in the food, like creamy, crunchy, hot, or dry, etc. Tongue is also considered the strongest muscles in the body and is able to heal injury more quickly than other parts of the body. We also need our tongue to produce certain sound when we speak. The sense of smells and taste work close together, that if you cannot smell something, you cannot taste it either. In a simple word, like when we lose the sense of smell or scent, we also lose the sense of taste. The taste bud on our tongue contains chemoreceptors that work in a similar fashion to the chemoreceptors in the nasal cavity. However, the chemoreceptors in the nose will detect any kind of smells, whereas there are 4 types of taste bud. and each detect different types of taste, like sweet, sour, bitter, and salt. Next, the touchy field, the skin sensation. The skin contains general receptor. These receptors can detect touch, pain, pressure, and temperature. All four of these receptors mix together through the skin. The skin receptors generate an impulse when activated, which is carried to the spinal cord and then to the brain. Human skin is the organ responsible for the sensation of touch. Our skin has two layers, the upper and the lower. The upper layer of the skin carries stimulation to the brain and causes the sensation of touch. The stimulus for touch is pressure on the skin, pain, warm, cool, and touch are the main sensation collectively called the continuous sensation or tactile sensations. Functions of the skin. Perspiration or sweating to cool the body. Second, the protections from the elements. The third, the sense of touch is spread through the whole body. Nerves endings of the skin and in other parts of the body sends information to the brain. There are four kinds of touch sensation that can be identified, like cold, heat, contact, and pain. Hair on the skin increases the sensitivity and can act as an early warning systems for the body. The fingertips have a greater concentration of nerve endings. People who are blind can use this sense of touch to read Braille. Braille is a learning apparatus for blind people. It is a form of written language for blind people, in which characters are represented by patterns of raised dots, and they are felt with the fingertips. Our skin is the largest organ in our body and contains the most nerve ending. In short, skin is the largest external organs of our body. It provides a barrier between our body our body essential organs, muscles, tissues, and skeletal systems, and the outside world. This barrier protects us from bacteria, changing temperature, and chemical exposures. That's all for today. In our next class, we will discuss the last part, that is the sensation, perception, and the conception. Thank you.